Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Man and Machine here, episode 113, here with the PeakBot team and Mark Phillips from Harvested Financial. Mark, you first. How you feeling this morning? How's it going?
Oh, happy Monday, everyone. It's our first Monday of spring, so excited for new beginnings.
Yeah, love that. Good attitude. Love to hear it. Ben, how are you feeling this morning?
I'd like to say good, but hey, picked up flu A over the weekend, so cheers to that.
Here's to flu A, whatever new flu that is. It's maybe they reset the cycle if we're back on flu A.
They test you for COVID, flu A, and flu B now. I don't even know what flu A and flu B are. I just learned that 2 days ago.
But you have it.
I have it.
And it's kicking your butt a little bit.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah. Well, we may have a couple extra sniffles on the show this morning, but we do have a great show for everybody, of course.
Dillon, how are you doing?
Oh, I don't think I have flu A. I think I have like flu A minor maybe, or like it's just I wake up and my nose is runny and my eyes are runny. And then I take my allergy pill and it's just a roller coaster all day. You're not supposed to take more than one allergy pill in 24 hours. Have I pushed that once? Or twice, maybe. I'm saying it live on air because, I'm an open person. But yeah, no, I don't know. I don't think I have flu A, but I don't know. Just annoying.
One day our immune systems will be as strong as Mark's.
Yeah, seriously. Mark, do you ever get sick?
Oh, yeah, from time to time.
Okay.
The hardest part is having a young one because they bring in all the risk vectors.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't help. What was we'll get into the show, but I do want to know, what was your latest illness? What was the last thing that got you down?
Over Christmas, actually, some flavor of flu. We showed up at my in-laws and they were just getting over something.
Flu C.
It's those family gatherings. Oh, a couple of young ones in the mix.
Hell yeah.
You're someone's guaranteed to get sick.
You're mixing kids for like 6 different school systems. You're all done. Anyway, we got a great show this morning. We'll take a quick look at PeakBot picks, see how our team performed last week. Stocks in real life, good one today. Talking about Etsy, a stock that I've definitely traded in the last year. We'll talk more about that, and we'll learn a little something with Mark. We'll have do a little SPY analysis, take a look at some economic events going into this week. So, and maybe some updates on the partnership here, some new strategies. Stay tuned here, people. So let's get into it. I think we need a little music, which I'm going to get going. I'm waiting for Doug to say good morning. Okay.
He did.
All right. I was getting a little nervous there. I don't want to say this, but if Doug doesn't say hello on our shows now on Mondays,
you get nervous.
I'm calling Doug's family and his estate, and I'm making sure that he's okay. But let's get into it. Let's take a quick look at PeakBot picks. Interesting week last week in the market, as always. Now it seems like we can't get through a week without some chaos. But your boy Dillon, that's me, went 2 for 3 last week. Let's zoom in here. I had 2 call credit spreads and a put credit spread. Okay, so these were from 314 to 321. All right, I held these all week. I didn't have any early take profits. Okay, but I got through 2 out of 3. I have TLT, which I was bullish on. That music's a little loud. Bullish on TLT. Collected the full premium, $15 down on $1.50 spread. Needed to stay above 89, and we did. Bearish on Wayfair. Took almost the full lot here. Paid back $2 in debit. Had a $3 spread trying to stay under 34. Did so successfully. And Bank of America, I took an L on. I had a call credit spread. I needed to stay under $42 to collect 18 in premium. It was a $1 spread, and that was not successful for me. But on the week, I went 2 for 3, got out of there with $29 out of the 61, so about half the premium. And it was a $550 in cash needed and at risk, if you will. So about a 0.5% return on the week. So that's how I did. You guys can see my picks this week. We'll see how these go. I carried over TLT again. I'm going bullish on J&J and bearish on Zoom Communications.
Very
Ben,
nice. I went 1 for 3. I've not updated the tracker.
No worries.
I won on silver by 2 cents.
Nice.
XOM, I was between the strikes. So I actually let myself get assigned. I now am short 100 shares of XOM,
Okay.
which I will be doing something with today. Not sure what yet. We'll see where we are at the open. And then
Okay.
CELH, that was just an L. Took the max loss, $100. So
Okay.
1 for 3. Not a great week.
Hey, well, you've been crushing the new contest since we started it.
That's true.
At least it feels that way. You were 2 for 3, 3 for 3, 3 for 3, 3 for 3. You were on a heater, dude. You were 9 for 9. We needed you to cool off a little bit. Not true. I want you to always win, but all right, very cool. And then Thomas went 2 for 3. We're not gonna act like his tracker is gonna be updated. I actually called him this morning. I was like, hey, Thomas, let me just get them picks in there. He did tell me he went 2 for 3. So we'll take a closer look there. But stay tuned for Friday. We'll go over this week's picks and how those went. So excellent. Let's get into stocks in real life and let's talk about Etsy.
Here we are.
Commerce human. Okay. Good one. Don't know it. Didn't know that.
All of these taglines that we have for stocks in real life, I've never heard them.
Yeah, it's true. I agree. Mark, have you heard about Keep Commerce Human from Etsy here?
No. Love
You're not
Etsy. Big fan of Etsy. But
you are?
Oh yeah, I ordered from Etsy this weekend.
Okay, I was gonna say I don't know if I'm a frequent flyer of Etsy. My wife is. My wife loves Etsy. So let's get into it. All right, Mark, tell us can you tell me at least in the realm of what you ordered from Etsy this weekend?
I ordered a wood branding iron.
Yeah,
so
you
a
did.
custom branding.
You're dressed
iron.
appropriately for that order.
Yeah, you did.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I knew we were talking about this, so I put on my home improvement kit.
Continue.
Love it.
Yeah, I got a little custom wood branding iron, so you can stick this thing in the fire and then use that to brand everything from like burger buns to like steaks to. I'm gonna use it on a giant Jenga set that I'm building.
Nice.
Yes.
Giant Jenga. So what are you going to be?
The logo is a line drawing of our house. I took one of the pictures of our houses and sent it off to someone on like one of those Upwork sites. And so for $20, I got like a line drawing done of the house. And now I have that as the logo for anything I want to brand. It's on my barrels where I age stuff. So
awesome.
It's increasingly becoming the logo.
This guy. I mean,
you're never going to be able to move.
No.
Yeah. No, you're locked down. And we got to get out there. Mark's having way too much fun without us, I have to say.
He's got all his guys visiting the house every other day. Yeah, we've got to get out there to see it.
I need a branded burger bun.
Come on down.
You don't come across those too often, man. Like you get that at a restaurant, you're like, oh, this place is taking this pretty seriously.
That obviously wasn't what I was shopping for originally, but when I saw that as another use case of this, it's like this thing, it might as well be free at this point.
Nice brioche bun. Only a brioche bun is being
Of course,
branded.
yeah. It doesn't work well with the sesame seeds.
No. I'm hungry now. This sucks. It's way too early for me to be thinking about burgers. Ben, you a frequent Etsy flyer or anybody in the family? What's your experience?
My wife definitely is. She'll go on there for like custom gifts and stuff. I've actually got a funny-ish, not too funny story about Etsy. So back when I first started my professional career in accounting, by the way, my wife was teaching at the time, then girlfriend. And we were like, what can we do as a side hustle? What can we do to make some more money? So drop shipping was really hot back then. I think it still is kind of hot to a certain extent, but we were really into drop shipping. So we did like our product research and we found a product that we liked on Alibaba. So we wound up ordering like 1,000 units of a particular product and threw it up on Amazon to do the whole like FBA drop shipping thing. Didn't work. Amazon basically said after a while, hey, we're not holding your inventory for you anymore. Shipped us basically everything. So I've got these giant boxes in the garage just stacked up right now of these products. And Now they're listed on Etsy, and we sell like, I don't know, 4 or 5 a month for like
Really?
$30. Yeah.
Good
So
for you.
it wasn't like a total loss, but Etsy coming in clutch, coming into to save the day.
God, wow.
Do they
All
charge
right.
you a listing fee? Like, can you just keep a listing out there?
Yeah,
or do
you
they
can-
take a cut of whatever sales you make?
They take a cut of the sale, but they don't charge you to list. I don't think. My wife does all of it, so I could be speaking on my ass right now. But they don't charge you to list. They do charge if you want to run ads to it, of course.
So with Etsy, my experience is, babe, come here. I want to get this. What do you think? And I'm like, yeah, you know what? That's pretty cool. Let's get it. I know that obviously it's a marketplace of, how would you guys best describe it? Custom one-off gifts that you're not going to necessarily find in a store or on Amazon. Is that the best way you guys would describe it?
Yeah, I'd say that's accurate enough.
A boutique, an online boutique. I don't know, but
Yeah, there's
I love
some
it.
one-off type goods. There's some like intersection with like eBay or whatever that there's like actual like single edition or whatever, like used couches or whatnot. But yeah, I would definitely say the customization is the key, right? That you need a special set of brackets, you need a special branding iron, you need a, like sign with your name on it. You go to Etsy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Earlier this fall, I got a nice custom set of brackets with like a P in the center of them. So proper
Nice.
like truss brackets with a P
Nice.
for obviously Phillips. So adding that logo to the area too.
All right. Yeah, you're on it. Hey, I gotta spend some more time on Etsy, I think. Let's get into the stock. I was actually looking at this on Tradier. I've traded Etsy as recently as the beginning of the month with some credit spreads. I believe I actually was trading it on trend spread, and I had what looks to be a couple iron condors and some call spreads. So Ben, it looks like you haven't traded. I'll share my
I have
screen
not
here.
traded Etsy. No.
I won't like barrel us through the math of everything here, but let's get this on screen. So in my gain loss here on Etsy, we can see I had contracts expiring on the 7th, which was a call. I'm sorry. This was a call credit spread. It looks like I had an iron condor here and some other call credit spreads. I'm not going to take a deep dive into see how well I've actually performed on it, but just kind of looking at the win-loss here, I'd say I'm in the positive. I'd say I'm in green on
Looks
Etsy.
like it.
But anyway, so here's the stock. Mark, curious to know if Etsy's come into your world at all?
Yeah, I was looking at it because, as we were preparing to talk about it today, it was a name that definitely traded actively previously, but I haven't seen it in a little minute. And I went back and looked at some of my data. It fell out of, I typically track the top 250 most active liquid names.
Okay.
A little bit based on volume, also spread width and activity and whatnot. But Etsy fell out of the top 250 last June.
Okay.
And so now we're trading in that like 10 to 15,000 contracts a day range.
Sure.
Rewind to 2 and 3 years ago, Etsy was doing double that on the reg. So I think as stock prices decline, there's just generally been less interest in the name. But we still see weeklies listed out there. Open interest is a little sparse, only a couple hundred contracts out there, and markets are a little bit wider, we're like a dime wide in the front month. So, if you have an axe in this name, like, you're crossing a bit of a spread to get in there. So that's like one of the first things I pay attention to getting involved in Etsy these days, on declining volume, declining stock price, declining liquidity. With those three forces, you got to be a little more choosier with your picks here.
No, absolutely. It has been a bit of a skid here for Etsy. I cannot believe it was trading up as high as around $300 back in November of 21. I was not aware of that, but it has been quite a steady fall. We'll call it since beginning of 2023 here. Things are looking pretty bearish, at least from the chart. When we take a look at the analyst rating here, I had this up for a while. It's a general mostly hold, 37 analyst ratings, 22 saying hold. We have about 4 strong sell, 1 buy, 10 strong buy. We can see the year forecast here. Not that this is the Bible by any means, but looks like there's some hope here, at least from an analyst standpoint. And then I'll just take a quick look at the technicals. And
was this a COVID story? Like, was that like kind of the, pandemic, everyone's at home doing like, second jobs, they're following Ben's footsteps, drop
Certainly.
Looks like
certainly times it up. Well, I mean, here's March of 2020, right? I mean, we're just going from $30 a share. I mean, before there was anything slowing them down, they got up to $250 by March of 21. Quite a ride there.
Yeah, what a ride.
That might be better than Zoom. That might be, we were talking about Zoom the other week, and that might be a better bottom to top than Zoom.
Here it is. All right. It's close. Zoom's got him.
Zoom like a 9X?
Yeah. So all right. So we're talking like right here. So maybe like February 2020, they're trading right around $90. And they skyrocketed to 582. Man, this is another crazy one to look at.
But that's only a 6X.
Yeah.
And I think Etsy was like an 8X or 7.5X.
Okay, yeah. Don't rely on me for math. We've learned that. But yeah, so all right. So quite a run there. It looks like, I'm assuming all-time highs were right here in November of 21, right around $300. Yeah, at least from the data here. So okay. Do you have IV or I'm sorry, do you have vol for Etsy here? How's that look?
So looking out 30 days to that April 25 expiration, we're settling right around like a 40 vol. Okay. Near terms, maybe slightly lower. But yeah, I think this, and from my data from when they were in my top 250, that was roughly the range. This was like a 30-40 ball stock.
So what's interesting is,
flat.
Sorry, apologies. It's not, and we'll see when the market opens this morning, it's not on the trend spread watch list right now, at least as of end of the week, which it normally always is. Again, like I've traded this as of late and have been winning on it. So I'm curious to know if it's not on the watch list due to lack of volume or lack of premium being paid. Well, I'll keep a close eye on that. But what else do we have to say about Etsy here?
Well, it's an interesting point you brought up there about how you've been winning on trend spread recently, and like obviously there's a pretty distinct trend, so that's a good thing to identify in the first place. But back to my comments about like liquidity and declining volume, wider spreads and whatnot, like that generally leads to less efficiently priced markets, and so that sounds like a risk. That sounds like, and it is. Right, like less efficiently priced markets, like can determine a strategy. You wouldn't necessarily want to enter into something that's like very risk transfery. Like that's not a great place to do that. But to the extent that you're capturing short-term opportunities, mispricings, directional biases, like less liquidity means the dealers and the whole community in general of options pricers have less confidence. So if you go in and make a trade with some confidence and, have some reason to put that on, whether it's trend, whether it's vol levels, no matter what that might be, like that does present some good opportunities. So you got to be aware of execution. You got to be aware of crossing those spreads. With less volume, there's going to be less open interest, less people likely to kind of help you take out of that trade. But like less efficiency means inefficient pricings means opportunities. So I wouldn't just be totally scared away because of that. Like Dillon's shown, there can be some wins in that kind of environment.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, I just did some quick like back of the napkin math. I've taken 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 total trades on Etsy, all through trend spread. And this is dating back to October of last year. I've made a total of $125 on Etsy. Nice. So that's fun. All call spreads, 1 condor. So the most I ever was neutral, but I've been pretty bearish on the plays. I'm looking at the average spread. It's never been more than $2. I'm sorry. I had a $3 call spread early March. So
$2-3.
Yeah, $2-3. That's kind of my cap. Like that's why I've been trading it. It was paying a decent enough premium, small enough spread and a very clear trend. I mean, this thing is bearish. So
when we even have 50-cent strikes listed in the front 2 months. So like you can definitely get pretty granular with something like this. You know, they're dollars as we go a little further out, but it looks like the front 2 weeks they have 50 cents listed here.
Wow. Okay.
So that's nice for a $50 product or $45 product.
Yeah, you're not kidding. All right, very cool. So keep an eye on Etsy. I'm upset that it's not on the watch list. I'm going to see if it is this morning. I'm going to probably take some secondary entries today on trend spread in a couple of my other accounts. So I'll keep an eye on Etsy and others. Any other thoughts on Etsy before we move on here?
Last thing I'll say, this is a little fun fact about Etsy. It's no longer true. They've actually moved to an entirely remote work focus now, but their global headquarters used to be in the town of Hudson, New York, which is a sleepy little upstate town. I happen to get married there, so I have a special affinity for that. But not too many corporations located in sleepy little Hudson River towns.
Okay, wow. Hudson, New York. So they're all home now, though.
They're all home now. Yeah, the remote first workforce.
You know, very interesting. Yeah, closed in September of 2022. Okay, good for them. Efficient. No rent.
They had a beautiful old brick warehouse there, as you can imagine.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
All right. So Etsy, good review. Happy we went over that. Although, you know, has been relatively bearish. We'll see if they can maybe turn things around. Let's move it on. Let's move on.
Let's do it.
All right. Let's learn a little something. We're going to move Mark to the top here, and we're going to hand it off. How to calculate max profit and max loss. Mark, take it away.
Yeah, this is obviously an important one because at the end of the day, everything comes down to P&L, right? How much are you risking and how much can you make? So really important fundamental calculations here. You know, it's going to depend on whether you're trading debit spreads or credit spreads. And, you know, these calculations get even more complicated once you start moving into your butterflies and your condors and whatnot. But generally with a spread with 2 legs of an option, the max profit in a long scenario is going to occur when you've blown through your long strike, blown through your short strike. The spread is going to have its maximum value when you're outside the bounds of that spread. Through the long, through the short. On a short, conversely, it's going to be the opposite, where you want to be completely outside the other direction. So to put, you know, specifics on that, if you're long the 9,500 call spread, long the 95, short the 100, you make money the most money if it closes above 100. If you're short that same call spread, you know, like in a trend spread scenario where you're, you know, short the Etsy call spread because we're trending down, we might be selling the 50, 55 call spread in Etsy. We make money when it's below 50. In a credit spread, in a debit spread, your max profit is going to be the difference between those strikes minus the amount you paid. In a credit spread, your max profit's always going to be the premium received. So anytime you're collecting money on a trade in any type of credit scenario, the most you can make from a trade is the amount that you receive on that entry or on, you know, initiating that position. Put spreads, you know, are going to work. Credit put spreads are going to work the opposite way. You sell the 45.40, you want it to close above 45. So, and that's actually a good truism in options, that you want it to be far from your short strike. You want it to be, you know, move away from the shorts. And so, you know, the max loss in both those scenarios, in the credit scenario, the max loss is going to be kind of the reverse of the debit scenario, where it's going to be the difference between those strikes minus the amount you collected on that trade. So back to our Etsy example, we sell a credit call spread in a downtrend scenario, and Etsy goes back up through our 50-55 call spread. And we collect $1 on that. We would take 55 minus 50 minus the $1 we collected. Those $4 that we'd lose on that trade. So generally in a lot of the spreads that we're looking at here, the credits are going to be relatively small compared to the losses. But that's because the probability of loss is going to be significantly lower than the probability of gain. So in the 25 delta example, you know, you're selling the 25 delta. You know, I think in trend spread, we generally see those premiums get roughly around a third, a quarter of the spread width. where losses tend to be, 60, 70% of that value. Of course, you have to discount it by the delta, and that's the whole options pricing formula why those risk rewards are set where they are. But generally, distance between the strikes, premium, and then flip the arithmetic whether you're long or short that spread.
Awesome.
So that arithmetic also leads us to the break-even point. And so if you've got this spread on, you might be asking, well, where do I start to make money? Where do I start to lose money? So kind of the examples I was using before are all around expiration. And this, depending on how much time there is on the clock, you might see profit and loss as it wiggles in between. But at expiration, your break-even is going to be right about that, or it's going to be exactly at that premium collection point. So going back to our Etsy example, you collect $1 on the 50-55 spread. You will start to lose money if stock settles above that 51 price in stock. So the premium you collected, once it starts to bleed above that level into your spread, those are going to be, you move into losses territory. Whereas if Etsy closes at $50.50, you collected $1, you have to pay out 50 cents on that short spread that you're settling, you net make 50 cents on that spread. So, in specifics, the break even is in a credit call would be the short strike plus the credit received. And on a put scenario, it would be the short put strike minus the credit received. So in short puts, you lose as stock goes down. Short calls, you lose as stock goes up.
Got it. Very, very good. And for those of you that are wondering, hey, how can I do this math myself? Well, you can just take a look at PeakBot's watch list. We do the math for you. We show you what your max loss will be. We show you what your max profit would be. And then recalculating that break-even point. It's...
Oh, no.
Did you
For a second, I tried taking your screen down so I can get my watch list up. Let's blame StreamYard because I don't want to have to do that. And I took you down for a second.
Well, so very good summary of max profit and loss. And Dillon, you're going to pull up the watch list in a second to demonstrate that. I will mention that next week we are going to have a special guest. Matt Cashman is joining us again. Last time he was here, we talked about Vega and Gamma. And this time next week, we will be talking about the rule of 16. So make sure you tune in next week to find out what that rule of 16 is. 8:30 a.m. Eastern, right here on the Tradier Hub. So, Dillon, you want to share that watch list screen?
Yeah, so this is what we were talking about. This is the detailed trend spread watch list, okay? These update every 5 minutes. We have a watch list for each of our core strategies. They update every 5 minutes during market hours. So what we were getting at here, you can see the width of your spread, okay? So your budget is going to say how much cash you need to enter this trade, which is going to be representative of the width of the spread. As we can see, our strikes here are 113 and 110. So you're risking $300 in cash, but you're collecting $35 in premium. And as Mark explained, that's the max gain for us on this position, right? If we finish out of the money and we collect our $35, we're winners. That means our max loss for this trade is $265, right? The width of the spread minus the premium earned is our max loss. And so you can see all that information for every single trade here, as well as the strike prices, whether they're puts, calls, or condors. So yeah, I just wanted to show you guys that that's how we math it out there.
Beautiful. Okay.
So stocks in real life, we learned a little something here. Thank you, Mark. SPY analysis, or let's take a look at some economic events, actually.
Yeah, let's do some economic events.
This week.
So last week,
sorry, I'm so rude. My timing sucks this morning.
Yeah.
I just don't want to forget pre-market. We look like up pretty significantly. I just want to make sure we talk about that before we get off air here.
Yeah, I see SPY's up almost 70.
Yeah, I didn't want to, raise any eyebrows here, but I was looking at Etsy and how bearish it was, and then the pre-market was up a couple dollars, and I couldn't believe it. And then I'm looking at the market here overall, and it looks like we're up pre-market. We're cruising a little bit here.
Yeah,
any thoughts on that before we get into anything else? Apologies.
I think we got a little tariff relief color over the weekend that it looks like the tariffs are going to be more targeted at specific industries. It's not going to be as broad based as originally assumed. That was sort of the explanation 101 that I got so far.
Hey, thanks for relaying it. I wasn't aware. All right, very cool. So Ben, any thoughts on that, or let's get into economic events?
No, I mean, I heard the same thing, a little bit of tariff relief. Foreign markets have been up as well, so that's sometimes an indicator as to where we're going to be headed. So looking into this week, actually last week, good to mention, FOMC was last week on Tuesday and Wednesday. Bots were off on those days. Fed decided to hold rates where they are, so no change. And the market didn't really do too much, if I remember correctly, through those couple of days. So if you were trading, probably were okay. But again, we like to err on the side of caution and not trade on those particular days. So today, what do we have? We've got some S&P global data here. We've got some Fed speeches this afternoon. Nothing really much other than that. Moving into tomorrow, looks like a lot of data, but nothing of super high importance. Moving into Wednesday, durable goods is marked as high importance. I'm not going to let that sway me in a direction to not trade. Thursday, we've got GDP growth rate. That might be, and that's pre-market, that might be something where I would personally turn my iron condors off on Wednesday going into Thursday morning. I'll make that decision later this week. And then we've got PCE on Friday pre-market, so maybe Thursday going into Friday, we hold a little bit as well. So nothing sticking out to me too much this coming week. Maybe some decisions to make depending on how the market's moving, but nothing crazy.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, like none of these indicators in and of themselves necessarily seem particularly significant. We're not getting like the, big headline CPI type data, but I completely agree with your sentiment about how it's going to depend how the market reacts. We're still kind of in that, I think a lot of the VIX indicators have, mellowed out. I think contango's less steep. The overall VIX itself is less steep. And that there's generally been like a softening of those near-term volatility expectations. Whether that continues, I think will be a good barometer for how aggressive you want to be into some of these events. That if we do continue to get some more chop, if there does continue to be, if the volatility indicators kind of tick a little bit back up, then I'm going to be a little bit more concerned about those economic releases. But if this market does continue to kind of revert back to quote unquote normal times, then none of those indicators releases particularly scare me.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, for me, I got to tell you, I'm interested to see how the market's going to react this morning. Obviously, again, as we just talked about, up pre-market here. If we kind of settle in a little bit today, I think I may go Condor into tomorrow, but I'll have to keep a close eye on the watch list, see what the volatility and the premiums are like. But man, I'd love to restore ourselves back to the keep calm and Condor on. I'm just not calm when I'm trading Condors. You know what I mean? But
30-day IV in the near term is obviously going to be a little bit higher, but even by the end of the week, we're only at 22 for the March expiration, and I see us at 17.8 for the April 30-day expiration. So, we're really, and if I use my handy rule of 16, I can tell you what the average daily move is on those.
There we go.
But I'll wait until next week.
All right.
That's right.
Awesome. Yeah. Hey, you know what? Maybe we're coming back to a little bit here. So, all right. Fantastic. And I teased this at the top of the show. We don't need to get into specifics, but please know that the PeakBot team and Mark, etc., we're all working on some great new strategies to match these new market conditions here and give our traders the best ability to navigate these choppy waters, if you will. So did you guys have any specific updates? Otherwise, we can just keep it as stay tuned. We got some great strategies coming.
Well, we've got King Condor, which was released last week, which the first trade it took last week won. It did not trade over the weekend, which good thing, because I'm looking at futures right now. We're up 1.2%. So good thing it did not trade over the weekend. There are parameters that use VIX to determine to not trade. So a good improvement there. We are in beta on a 0 DTE iron fly, which is an afternoon trade, back tested really, really well. Once that's out of beta, that will be available to PeakBot users and harvested clients. And then we've got a starter bot coming out, more details to come on that, and a morning momentum bot, which will actually be our first option buying strategy. So I'm excited. I'm really excited for that one. But yeah, more to come.
Yeah, I'm really excited about these, and particularly how they all work in concert together, right? That balancing a long momentum against short condors is an interesting, allocation to have, because when, short condors zag, momentum generally is going to win. So I am a huge fan of that. And to go back to the king condor, like the volatility awareness on that is another thing that I'm, really happy to see come into the bots, and happy to, in option selling, you have to be a little bit aware about what the overall regime is. Like, what has VIX been doing? What is VIX doing today? Both understanding the past history and the current environment to get a lot more sensitive about when we're entering trades, and being a lot more choosy about when to sell vol, when to pause, when to not sell. So I think, the second order indicators that we're adding into that really, really level up that strategy quite a bit. Yeah, which is why we call it the king, or why you called it the king.
That's right.
Yeah, Thomas on Friday's show, I think we very briefly mentioned King Condor. The gesture is, placing the crown right on the head there. If we get a win on King Condor, we all just need to be placing the crown. All right, very cool. Great update. Great strategies to come. And we will be live again on Friday for the automation station. Myself, Ben, and Thomas will get a deeper dive into PeakBot picks here. But again, as we mentioned a few times, big special guests Monday, a week from today, 8:30 a.m. Eastern. Matt Cashman from the OCC coming on to talk about the Rule of 16. Him and Mark are going to nerd out about that. I'm going to be having my notepad out, just learning everything I can. Wait, is Doug not going to be here?
Doug's not going to be here. You're going to have to watch it.
Doug. Priorities, Doug. Work, I guess, is a decent excuse. All right, very cool. So tune in next week. Tune in Friday. Thank you so much for joining us here this morning. Happy Monday. Good week and good luck in the market this week. And as always, see you at the peak. Thanks so much, everybody.
You know how the financial world goes. Here comes the buzzkill. Please make sure to take some time to read this boring disclaimer. We will owe you one.